There are moments, rare, undeniable moments, when time itself seems to pause, not for the world, not for everyone, but for you. This is one of those moments, and you need to understand something right now. If you are hearing these words before you step outside tomorrow, it is not random. It is not coincidence. It is not just another message passing through your screen. No, this is a divine interruption. Something inside you already knows that. That slight pause you felt before clicking, that hesitation, that whisper in your spirit saying, "Wait, listen to this." That wasn't curiosity. That was calling. Because there is something about tomorrow, something specific, something precise, that heaven does not want you walking into blindly. Ask yourself this: have you ever stepped out on a normal day, expecting nothing unusual, only to realize later that one small moment changed everything? One conversation, one delay, one decision, one encounter, and suddenly, the entire direction of your day, your week, your life, shifted in ways you never saw coming. Tomorrow carries that kind of weight. But here's what makes this different this time. You are being warned before it happens. And that should stop you right in your tracks. Because warnings like this do not come casually. They do not come often. They come when something is already in motion. Something unseen, something unfolding just beyond your awareness. While you were going about your routine thinking, planning, scrolling, resting, or has already in movement in the spiritual realm concerning you. Yes, you. Not the crowd. Not everyone watching. You. There is a reason your spirit has felt slightly unsettled lately. A reason why certain thoughts have been louder than usual. A reason why you felt like something is off but couldn't quite explain it. You brushed it aside. You told yourself it's nothing. Just stress. Just overthinking. But what if it's not? What if that feeling, that quiet, persistent nudge is actually preparation? Because tomorrow is not just another day. It is a moment of intersection, where paths cross, where decisions align, where unseen forces attempt to influence what you do next. And the truth is, most people will walk into it unaware, distracted, spiritually asleep. But not you. You were stopped here right now for a reason. Archangel Michael speaks not with noise, but with authority, and his message carries urgency. Pay attention before you move. Not after. Not during. Before. Because once you step outside, the momentum begins. And here's the part many ignore. Danger does not always appear as danger. It doesn't always look like something you should avoid. Sometimes it looks like opportunity. Sometimes it feels like urgency. Sometimes it comes disguised as something familiar, something comfortable, something you would normally say yes to without a second thought. That is why this moment matters. This is not about fear. This is about awareness. You are being given something rare, the chance to prepare before the moment arrives. Think about how many times in your life you wished you had known something earlier, wished you had paused, wished you had listened to that inner voice instead of rushing forward. How many times did hindsight reveal what intuition was trying to tell you in advance? Tomorrow, you will not have to rely on hindsight. Because right now, in this very moment, you are being aligned. You are being slowed down on purpose. You are being called into awareness before action. And the question is not whether this message is real. The question is, will you treat it like it matters? Because something is waiting on the other side of tomorrow morning. Something that requires you to be different than you were yesterday. More alert, more grounded, more spiritually awake. This is your moment to shift. This is your moment to listen. This is your moment to prepare. Do not rush past this. Do not treat this like background noise, because the very act of stopping, of listening, of becoming aware may be the exact thing that changes what tomorrow was trying to become. And as you stand on the edge of what is coming, hear this clearly. You are not being warned to be afraid. You are being warned to be ready. Type "I am ready" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now activated around you. Something has already begun. Not tomorrow. Not when you wake up. Not when you step outside your door. No, it has already started. Quietly, subtly, almost invisibly, in a way that most people would never notice. But you have felt something, haven't you? A slight difference in the air around you. A shift in your thoughts. A tension you cannot fully explain. It is not loud enough to alarm you, but it is present enough to disturb your peace. That is not your imagination. That is awareness. Because the atmosphere around you has shifted. There are moments in life when everything looks the same on the outside, yet something feels completely different on the inside. You go through your usual routine, speak to the same people, walk the same paths, but there is a quiet signal within you that says, something is not as it was. Most people ignore that signal. They distract themselves. They scroll. They rationalize. They move faster just to avoid sitting with that feeling. But that feeling is not there to confuse you. It is there to prepare you. Archangel Michael speaks with clarity in moments like this, not to create fear, but to sharpen your awareness. His message is not chaotic. It is precise. And right now, that precision is directed toward one truth. When the atmosphere shifts, it means something is aligning or something is approaching. You must understand this deeply. Before any major moment unfolds in your life, there is always a shift that happens first. It happens in the unseen before it manifests in the seen. It happens in your spirit before it appears in your circumstances. It happens in subtle ways. Through your intuition, through your sensitivity, through that quiet voice inside you that refuses to be ignored. And lately, that voice has been speaking more clearly. You may have noticed small things. Changes in how people respond to you. Slight differences in conversations. A sense that something is being withheld, or something is being rearranged behind the scenes. Even your own thoughts may have felt different, more alert, more questioning, more aware of patterns you used to overlook. That is not random. That is the result of a shifting atmosphere. Because when something significant is about to happen, everything around you begins to adjust. Energy moves. Intentions shift. Paths begin to realign. And while others remain unaware, you are being given the ability to sense it before it fully arrives. But here is where most people make a mistake. They feel the shift and then they ignore it. They convince themselves it is nothing. They tell themselves they are overthinking. They silence the very awareness that was meant to guide them. And by the time the moment arrives, they are unprepared, caught off guard, reacting instead of responding. You are not being placed in that position. You are being awakened ahead of time. Right now, there are movements happening that you cannot see. Conversations forming. Decisions being made. Paths crossing that have not yet intersected physically, but are already aligning spiritually. Tomorrow is simply the visible point where those unseen movements begin to reveal themselves. And that is why you cannot afford to be unaware. Because when the atmosphere shifts, it demands a different version of you. A more present version. A more discerning version. A version that does not move on autopilot but moves with intention. Pay attention to how you feel right now. Not your surface thoughts, but your deeper awareness. There is a reason you feel more alert. A reason you feel drawn into this moment, a reason why something inside you is telling you to listen carefully, to slow down, to absorb every word. That is alignment. The atmosphere has changed, and you are being calibrated to match it. This is not about overanalyzing every little detail tomorrow. It is not about walking in fear or suspicion. It is about walking in awareness. There is a difference. Fear makes you reactive. Awareness makes you prepared. Fear clouds your judgment. Awareness sharpens your perception. And right now, you are being sharpened. Because what is coming next does not require peg. It requires presence. It requires you to notice what others overlook. You sense what others dismiss. You pause when others rush. To listen when others react. This is how protection begins. Not with force, but with awareness. Not with resistance, but with recognition. The shift in the atmosphere is your signal. It is your early warning. It is your preparation before the moment arrives. And if you honor it, if you stay present, if you stay grounded, if you stay aware, you will move through tomorrow differently than you have ever moved before. You will not just experience the day, you will navigate it. And that changes everything. Type "I am aware" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 2020 is now surrounding your path. There is something about tomorrow that is not ordinary, even though it will look like every other day you have lived before. The sun will rise the same way. The streets will appear unchanged. The people around you will move as they always do. Nothing on the surface will announce that anything is different. And yet, beneath that normalcy, there is a weight, a significance, a quiet intensity that sets this day apart from all others. This is how pivotal moments arrive. They do not always come with loud warnings or visible signs. They arrive quietly, wrapped in routine, hidden inside what feels familiar. And that is why so many people miss them. They step into these moments distracted, unaware, assuming it is just another day, never realizing that the choices they make within those hours carry consequences far beyond what they can see. But you have been stopped before entering that day. That alone tells you everything you need to know. Because when heaven interrupts your routine before a day begins, it is not without reason. It is because that day holds a convergence, a meeting point between your actions and something that has already been set in motion. It is a day where small decisions will not remain small, where a simple yes or no will not just affect a moment, but will ripple outward into something greater. Tomorrow is different because it is already aligned with something ahead of you. There are encounters being positioned. There are opportunities forming. There are distractions preparing themselves. And all of it is waiting for one thing: your response. Not your reaction, but your response. Because the difference between those two will determine everything. You must understand this clearly. Not every opportunity that appears tomorrow is meant for you. Not every conversation deserves your energy. Not every path that opens is aligned with your purpose. And yet, in the moment, it will not always be obvious which is which. That is why awareness must come before action. Think about how many times you have stepped into situations too quickly. How many times you said yes before thinking. How many times you moved forward simply because it felt urgent, only to realize later that the urgency was not guidance, but pressure. Tomorrow, that same pattern may try to repeat itself. But this time, you are being given the awareness to break it. Because tomorrow will test your discernment. It will test whether you have truly learned to pause before acting. It will test whether you can recognize the difference between something that feels right and something that simply feels familiar. It will test whether you can trust that inner voice. even when everything around you tries to rush you into a decision. And here is the deeper truth. What makes tomorrow different is not just what will happen externally. It is who you are being called to be internally. You are not meant to step into that day as the same person you were yesterday. You are meant to step into it more aware, more grounded, more aligned. Because something is waiting for you to either meet it consciously or miss it completely. And this is where many people fail. They assume that important moments will be obvious. They believe that when something significant happens, they will instantly recognize it. But that is not how it works. The most important moments often disguise themselves as ordinary choices. A conversation that seems casual. A decision that feels minor. A delay that feels frustrating. And yet, within those small moments lies the turning point. Tomorrow holds one of those turning points. You may not know exactly when it will appear. It may come early in the day, or later when you least expect it. It may come through a person, a message, a thought, or even a sudden change in plans. But when it arrives, there will be a subtle signal, a feeling, a pause, a moment where something inside you tells you to pay attention. Do not ignore that moment, because that moment is where everything begins to shift. Archangel Michael's presence in this message is not accidental. His role is not to control your path, but to reveal where your attention must be placed. And right now, the focus is clear. Tomorrow is a day where awareness must lead your actions, not habit, not pressure, not assumption. You are being prepared to move differently, to pause when others rush, to observe when others react, to listen when others speak without thinking. And in doing so, you will navigate the day in a way that protects you, aligns you, and positions you exactly where you are meant to be. This is what makes tomorrow different. It is not just another day you will pass through. It is a day that will respond to how you show up within it. Type "I move with awareness" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 3030 is now activated over your tomorrow. As this message settles into your spirit, understand this: every time you choose to stay aligned with truth, you become a light for someone else who is still walking in confusion. What is being spoken here is not just for you. It is a seed meant to reach souls who are searching for clarity in their own storms. The word says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And in this moment, that promise is alive, calling you into action. I feel led to say this clearly. When you support this mission through Super Thanks with a PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are sowing into a harvest of awakened lives. Your generosity becomes a river that carries truth into places darkness tried to dominate. If your spirit is stirring right now, do not delay this act of obedience. Step forward, release your seed, and become part of what heaven is expanding through this message. Listen closely now, because what is about to be revealed is not meant to alarm you. It is meant to prepare you in a way that most people never allow themselves to be prepared. There is something waiting just beyond your door tomorrow, and the reason it is called hidden is because it will not present itself as danger. It will not announce itself with warning signs. It will not look like something you should avoid. In fact, it may feel completely normal, even familiar, even harmless. And that is exactly why it must be recognized before it appears. You have to understand this truth at a deeper level. The most impactful moments in your life rarely come disguised as obvious threats. They come quietly, wrapped in situations that feel routine, interactions that seem casual, or opportunities that appear beneficial at first glance. That is how subtle redirection works. It does not force you. It invites you. It does not scare you. It convinces you. And by the time most people realize what they have stepped into, They are already too far into it to easily step back. But you are not being sent into tomorrow without awareness. There is a reason this message reached you before that moment. Because something is forming at the edge of your next step. It may be a conversation that shifts your focus. It may be a request that demands your time. It may be a sudden change in plans that pushes you into a different direction than you originally intended. And none of it will seem urgent enough to question at first. That is what makes it dangerous, not because it is extreme, but because it is subtle. Think about the times in your life when something small led to something much bigger. A quick decision that you did not think through. A moment where you said yes without pausing. A situation where you followed what felt easiest instead of what felt right. At the time, it seemed insignificant. But later, you could trace back everything that followed to that one moment. Tomorrow carries one of those moments. And the danger is not that something bad is guaranteed to happen. The danger is that something misaligned may try to pass as something meant for you. And if you are not present, if you are not grounded, if you are not aware, you may accept it without realizing what it truly is. This is why Archangel Michael's message carries such urgency. Not because you are in immediate harm, but because you are at a point where awareness will determine direction. The line between alignment and distraction is not always obvious. It is often thin, quiet, almost invisible. And it is crossed not through major decisions, but through small, unnoticed choices. Tomorrow, there will be a moment where you will feel a slight hesitation. A pause. A sense that something deserves a second look. Do not ignore that. That pause is not hesitation. It is guidance. It is the moment where awareness interrupts autopilot. It is the moment where you are being given the opportunity to choose differently. Most people override that moment. They rush past it. They tell themselves they are overthinking. They choose speed over clarity. And in doing so, they miss the protection that awareness was offering them. You are being called to do the opposite. You are being called to slow down in that exact moment. To observe. To listen. To feel the difference between something that is aligned and something that is simply convenient. Because not everything that comes easily is meant for you. Not everything that feels familiar is safe. Not everything that appears positive is beneficial. And yet, tomorrow will test whether you truly understand that. There is a reason this message is reaching you before you leave your house. Because once you step outside, everything begins to move faster. Conversations happen quickly. Decisions are made in seconds. Situations unfold without pause. And if you are not anchored in awareness before that movement begins, you will be pulled into it without thinking. That is how people lose alignment. Not in big, obvious ways, but in small, unnoticed moments. But you are not walking into tomorrow unprepared. You are being equipped right now. You are being reminded that your greatest protection is not avoidance. It is awareness. It is the ability to recognize what is in front of you before you fully engage with it. It is the discipline to pause when something feels off, even if you cannot immediately explain why. Because that feeling is not confusion. It is clarity trying to reach you before you act. Tomorrow, the hidden danger will not reveal itself clearly. It will not identify itself. It will simply present itself and wait for your response. And your response will determine everything that follows. So do not rush. Do not assume. Do not move without awareness. Because what is hidden cannot control you if you recognize it before it takes shape. Type "I discern" clearly in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 4040 is now surrounding your decisions. There is a reason you are being warned like this, and it goes deeper than what you can currently see. This is not just about a moment tomorrow. This is not just about avoiding a wrong decision or recognizing a hidden distraction. This is about something much greater, something that has been placed on your life long before this day ever approached. You are not being prepared because you are random. You are being prepared because you are assigned. And when you begin to understand that word, assignment, everything starts to make sense. You have felt it at different points in your life, even if you could not fully explain it. That sense that you are not here just to exist, not here just to follow routine, not here just to repeat what everyone else is doing. There has always been something within you that felt different. Something that made you question more, observe more, feel more deeply than others around you. Sometimes it felt like a burden. Sometimes it made you feel misunderstood. Sometimes it isolated you in ways you did not expect. But that difference is not accidental. That difference is alignment with your assignment. Because when a life carries purpose, it also carries attention. Not just attention from people, but attention in ways that are not always visible. There are patterns that try to form around you. There are moments that test you more intensely than others. There are situations that seem to repeat themselves until you recognize what they are trying to reveal. This is what most people do not understand. The more aligned you are with purpose, the more intentional your awareness must become. Because not everything that comes into your path is there to help you move forward. Some things are there to delay you. Some things are there to distract you. Some things are there to pull you slightly off course, just enough that you lose momentum without even realizing it. And the truth is, you have experienced this before. Moments where things almost worked out but didn't. Opportunities that looked promising but led nowhere. Situations where you felt like you were moving forward, only to find yourself back in the same place again. At the time, it felt confusing. It felt frustrating. You questioned why things kept happening that way. But now, you are being shown something deeper. Those moments were not random setbacks. They were misalignments trying to interrupt your assignment. And tomorrow carries a moment where that same pattern may try to appear again. But this time, you are not the same version of yourself. This time, you are aware. This time, you are prepared. This time, you are being reminded before the moment arrives. Because your assignment requires you to move differently. You cannot move the way you used to. You cannot respond the way you once did. You cannot allow every situation to pull you in, every voice to influence you, every opportunity to distract you. There has to be a shift in how you approach what is in front of you. And that shift begins with recognizing your value. You are not just someone passing through life. You are someone carrying something that matters. Something that affects not just you, but what comes after you. And because of that, your decisions hold weight. Your attention holds power. Your direction holds consequence. This is why you are being called into awareness now. Because when you understand that your life is assigned, you stop treating moments casually. You stop saying yes without thinking. You stop moving without questioning whether something aligns with where you are meant to go. You begin to see everything differently. Tomorrow, you will be faced with something that will require that level of awareness. It may not seem significant at first. It may feel like just another choice, just another interaction, just another moment in your day. But beneath its surface, there will be a deeper layer, one that asks a simple question. Does this align with your assignment, or does it pull you away from it? And your ability to answer that question in real time will determine what happens next. You are not being asked to be perfect. You are being asked to be aware, to recognize when something feels off, even if you cannot fully explain why. to trust that inner signal instead of overriding it, to pause long enough to see clearly before you act. Because your assignment does not require speed. It requires clarity. And clarity only comes when you allow yourself to slow down enough to see what is truly in front of you. Archangel Michael's presence in this message is a reminder of that. Not to control your path, but to sharpen your perception. To ensure that when the moment arrives, you are not caught unaware. You are not reacting blindly. You are not moving out of habit. You are choosing with intention. Because your assignment deserves that level of attention. And tomorrow, you will have the opportunity to honor it. Type "I honor my assignment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 5050 is now activated over your path. There is a battle that most people never see, never acknowledge, and therefore never prepare for. It does not happen with noise. It does not announce itself with conflict. It does not appear as something dramatic or obvious. Instead, it unfolds quietly, in the smallest moments, in the simplest choices, in the subtle pull between what feels easy and what is actually right. And tomorrow, that battle will be placed directly in front of you. You must understand this clearly. Your destiny is not usually blocked by something big and overwhelming. It is often redirected by something small and unnoticed. A distraction that seems harmless. A delay that feels insignificant. A decision that appears minor. And yet, those are the exact moments where alignment is either strengthened or slowly weakened. This is the battle you are stepping into. It is not a battle of strength. It is a battle of focus. Because distraction does not come to destroy you immediately. It comes to slowly shift your attention. It comes to take you off course just enough that you do not realize you are drifting until you are already far from where you were meant to be. It comes in forms that look acceptable, reasonable, even necessary at times. And that is why it works on so many people. But you are being made aware of it before it happens. Tomorrow, there will be moments where your attention will be pulled in different directions. You may feel pressure to act quickly. You may feel the urge to respond immediately. You may be drawn into something that feels urgent but does not truly require your energy. And in those moments, the battle begins. Not outside of you, but within you. One part of you will want to move quickly, to follow the flow, to respond without thinking. That is the part that has been conditioned by routine, by habit, by the need to keep things moving without interruption. But another part of you, the deeper part, the aware part, will ask you to pause. It will ask you to look again. It will ask you to question whether what is in front of you is truly aligned or simply convenient. That is the moment where everything shifts. Because destiny is not something you accidentally walk into. It is something you align with through conscious decisions. It is something you move toward by choosing awareness over impulse, clarity over speed, intention over reaction. And distraction is always trying to interrupt that alignment. You have seen this pattern before, even if you did not fully recognize it at the time. Moments where you felt pulled in a direction that did not quite feel right, but you went along with it anyway. Situations where you allowed yourself to be drawn into something that did not serve you, simply because it was easier than stepping back. Times where you followed what was in front of you instead of questioning where it was leading. Those moments were not random. They were examples of distraction quietly pulling you away from your intended path. But tomorrow, you are not stepping into that same pattern blindly. You are stepping into it with awareness. And that awareness changes everything. Because once you see the pattern, you can interrupt it. Once you recognize the pull, you can resist it. Once you understand that not everything deserves your attention, you can begin to choose where your focus goes. and your focus is more powerful than you realize. What you give your attention to grows. What you engage with expands. What you follow begins to shape your direction. That is why distraction targets your focus first, not your strength. Because if your focus is redirected, your path follows without resistance. But destiny requires something different. It requires discipline. It requires the ability to say no when something feels off, even if you cannot fully explain why. It requires the patience to pause when everything around you is moving quickly. It requires the courage to step back when something tries to pull you forward too fast. Tomorrow, you will be given the opportunity to practice that. You will encounter moments where you can either move automatically or move intentionally, where you can either follow what is presented or question what it truly is, where you can either allow distraction to guide you or choose to stay aligned with what you know is right. And the difference between those choices will not be obvious in the moment. It will feel subtle, but the outcome will not be, because small decisions create larger paths. And tomorrow is not about avoiding every possible distraction. It is about recognizing the one that matters, the one that has the potential to shift your direction if you are not paying attention, the one that appears simple but carries more weight than it seems. This is the battle between distraction and destiny, and you are not being sent into it unprepared. You are being equipped right now with the one thing that makes the difference: awareness. Hold on to that. Do not let it fade when the day begins. Because the moment you stay present, the moment you choose clarity, the moment you refuse to move blindly, that is the moment you stay aligned with where you are meant to go. Type "I choose destiny" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 6060 is now activated over your focus and direction. There is a voice within you that has been speaking long before this moment, long before this message, long before you ever realized how important it truly is. It does not shout. It does not force. It does not compete with the noise around you. And yet, it has always been there, steady, consistent, quietly guiding you even when you did not fully understand it. Tomorrow, more than ever, that voice is the one you must listen to. Because not every voice you hear will be meant to guide you. There will be external voices, people speaking, situations unfolding, expectations being placed on you, opinions offered without you asking for them. There will be internal voices as well, your thoughts, your impulses, your habits, your fears, your desires. And all of these voices will attempt to speak at the same time, pulling your attention in different directions. But only one of those voices carries clarity. Only one of those voices carries alignment. Only one of those voices will remain calm when everything else feels urgent. That is the voice you must learn to recognize. You have encountered it before, even if you did not always follow it. It is the voice that told you to pause when something did not feel right. The voice that made you hesitate before making a decision you later regretted. The voice that tried to guide you away from situations that looked fine on the surface but carried something deeper beneath them. And yet, there were times you ignored it. Not because you wanted to make the wrong choice, but because other voices felt louder. The voice of urgency telling you to act quickly. The voice of pressure telling you not to overthink. The voice of familiarity convincing you that what you were doing was normal, even when something inside you felt otherwise. This is how confusion begins. Not because the right voice is missing, but because it is being overridden. Tomorrow, that same dynamic will present itself again. You will hear things that sound convincing. You will feel impulses that seem reasonable. You will be placed in situations where acting quickly feels easier than pausing to reflect. And in those moments, it will not be immediately clear which voice to follow. That is why you must prepare now, The voice you are meant to follow will not rush you. It will not pressure you. It will not create confusion. It will not make you feel like you have to act immediately without thinking. Instead, it will do the opposite. It will slow you down. It will create a moment of stillness. It will bring a sense of clarity, even if that clarity simply says, wait. That is how you will recognize it. Because clarity does not come with chaos. It comes with calm. You may not always understand why that voice is guiding you in a certain direction. You may not always see the full picture in the moment. But you will feel the difference between acting out of pressure and acting out of alignment. And that feeling matters more than you realize. Because tomorrow is not about making the perfect decision. It is about making a conscious decision. It is about choosing to listen instead of reacting. Choosing to pause instead of rushing. Choosing to trust that inner awareness instead of dismissing it. You have been given that awareness for a reason. It is not there to confuse you. It is there to guide you. But guidance only works when it is followed. There will be a moment tomorrow where everything seems to move quickly, where the situation unfolds in a way that demands your attention. In that moment, you will feel two different pulls. One will pull you forward without pause. The other will ask you to step back, even if just for a second. That second is everything. Because within that pause, you will hear the voice that matters. Not loudly, not dramatically, but clearly enough that you cannot deny it. And what you do in that moment will determine everything that follows. You are not being asked to silence every other voice. You are being asked to recognize which one deserves your attention. Because the right voice will not compete. Do wait. It will remain steady, even when everything else feels urgent. And it will guide you in a way that protects you, aligns you, and keeps you moving in the direction you are meant to go. But only if you listen. So when tomorrow begins, do not get lost in the noise. Do not let urgency take control of your actions. Do not allow external voices to override what you already feel within you. Return to that inner stillness. Return to that quiet clarity. Return to the voice that does not force but guides. Because that is the voice that will lead you through what is coming. Type "I trust the right voice" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 7070 is now activated over your discernment. There is a level of protection that does not come from force, does not come from control, and does not come from trying to predict every possible outcome. It comes from something much simpler, yet far more powerful: obedience. Not blind obedience, not forced obedience, but a conscious, aware alignment with what you already know is right, even when it feels inconvenient, even when it requires you to pause, even when it asks you to move differently than you normally would. This is the shield you are being given. And most people overlook it because it does not feel dramatic. It does not feel like an action. It feels like a pause. It feels like restraint. It feels like choosing not to move when everything around you is pushing you forward. But that is exactly where its power lies. Tomorrow, you will be placed in moments where you will feel a quiet instruction within you. It will not come as a loud command. It will not force you to follow it. It will simply present itself as a knowing, a sense that you should wait, that you should not engage, that you should step back, that you should not say yes immediately. That is obedience. And in that moment, you will have a choice. You can follow that inner instruction, even if it does not fully make sense, even if it slows you down, even if it feels uncomfortable. Or you can override it, convincing yourself that it is not necessary, that you are overthinking, that you should just move forward as usual. That choice is where protection is either activated or bypassed. Because obedience is not about restriction. It is about alignment. It is about trusting that the awareness you have been given is not random, that the pause you feel is not hesitation, that the sense of weight is not doubt. It is direction. You have experienced moments like this before. Times where something inside you told you not to proceed, but you did anyway. Times where you felt a clear sense to pause, but you ignored it. And later, you looked back and realized that the moment you chose not to listen was the moment everything shifted in a direction you did not intend. That was not coincidence. That was misalignment. But there were also moments, quiet, subtle moments, where you did listen, where you paused, even when it felt unnecessary, where you stepped back, even when everything seemed fine. And later, you realized that something you avoided would have taken you somewhere you were not meant to go. That was protection, and that protection came through obedience. Tomorrow, that same opportunity will present itself again. But this time, you are aware of it before it happens. You are being reminded that the simplest action, pausing, waiting, not engaging, can be the most powerful decision you make. Because when you honor that inner instruction, you are not just avoiding something negative. You are actively aligning yourself with something better. This is where many people misunderstand obedience. They see it as limitation, as something that holds them back, as something that prevents them from moving freely. But in reality, it is the opposite. It is what keeps you on the path that leads you forward. It is what prevents you from stepping into situations that would slow you down, distract you, or pull you away from where you are meant to be. It is a shield, not one that you hold physically, but one that forms around your decisions, around your actions, around your direction. And that shield is activated the moment you choose to listen. Tomorrow, there will be a moment where obedience will feel like inconvenience. It will feel like slowing down when you want to move. It will feel like saying no when it would be easier to say yes. It will feel like stepping back when everything around you is pushing you forward. That is the test. Not a test of strength, but a test of trust. You trust the awareness you have been given enough to follow it? Do you trust that the pause you feel is there for a reason? Do you trust that what you avoid in that moment may be more important than what you gain by moving forward? Because obedience is not about knowing the outcome. It is about trusting the direction. And that trust is what activates your protection. You are not being asked to control everything tomorrow. You are not being asked to predict every situation. You are being asked to remain aware, to remain grounded, and to respond to that inner instruction when it appears. Because that is where your shield is. Not in reacting, not in rushing, not in forcing your way through situations, but in listening, in pausing, in choosing alignment over impulse. And when you do that, you move differently. You move with clarity. You move with intention. You move with protection already surrounding you. Type "I walk in obedience" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 8080 is now activated over your protection. And as this truth settles into your spirit, understand this moment is not just about you. It is about every soul that will encounter light because you chose to respond. Each time you support this mission through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you are sowing seeds into hearts that are still searching in darkness. The word declares, those who sow generously will also reap generously. And this is not distant scripture. It is a living promise moving through your obedience right now. I feel this strongly for you. Your giving is not a transaction. It is a prophetic act that opens doors beyond what you can see. There are lives waiting for clarity, for direction, for awakening, and your seed becomes the river that carries this message to them. Do not hesitate in this moment. Do not delay what your spirit is prompting you to do. Step forward in faith, release your support, and become part of the harvest God is unfolding through this message. There are things that do not need to overpower you in order to influence you. They do not need to confront you directly. They do not need to create chaos or visible disruption. Instead, they rely on something far more subtle, far more effective: your inattention. Because what you ignore has the ability to shape your path just as much as what you consciously choose. And tomorrow, there will be elements placed in your day that are not meant to force you, but to be overlooked by you. This is where many people lose alignment without even realizing it. They are not defeated in obvious ways. They are not stopped by something dramatic. They are simply distracted, slightly redirected, gently pulled away from what matters, all because they ignored the small signals that were trying to guide them. And that is exactly what you are being warned about now. Because there are patterns that rely on you staying unaware. Patterns that depend on you brushing things off, on you moving too quickly to notice what is happening, on you assuming that everything is as it appears. These patterns do not need your permission to exist, but they do need your lack of attention to succeed. Think about how many times something small felt off, but you ignored it. A detail that did not quite align. A tone in someone's voice that felt different. A situation that seemed fine on the surface but carried something beneath it that you could not fully explain. You noticed it, but you dismissed it. You told yourself it was nothing. You chose to move forward anyway. And later, you realized that moment mattered. That is how subtle influence works. It does not come as something you cannot see. It comes as something you notice but choose not to acknowledge. Tomorrow, there will be moments like that. Moments that do not demand your attention, but deserve it. Moments that seem minor, but carry weight. Moments where something inside you quietly signals, look again, but everything around you encourages you to keep moving. That is the moment where awareness must take control. Because what you ignore does not disappear. It continues. It develops. It influences what comes next. And by the time it becomes obvious, it is no longer a small detail. It is a situation that has already taken shape. This is why you are being called to pay attention to the smallest things. Not to overanalyze, not to create doubt, but to remain present enough to notice when something does not align. Because alignment is not just found in big decisions. It is found in how you respond to the smallest signals. The enemy does not always try to stop you directly. Sometimes, the goal is simply to make you overlook what matters. To rush you past the moment where you would have seen clearly. To keep you focused on what is urgent instead of what is important. To convince you that the pause you feel is unnecessary. But that pause is where clarity lies. And what you ignore in that moment is what has the potential to affect everything that follows. Tomorrow, there may be something that seems insignificant at first. A detail that does not match. A situation that feels slightly off. A moment where something does not sit right within you. It will not demand your attention. It will not force you to stop. It will simply exist, waiting to see whether you acknowledge it or move past it. That is the test. Not of strength, but of awareness. Because awareness is not just about seeing what is obvious. It is about recognizing what is subtle. It is about allowing yourself to notice what others would ignore. It is about trusting that the small signals you feel are not random, but meaningful. And when you begin to live with that level of awareness, everything changes. You no longer move blindly through situations. You no longer allow yourself to be pulled into things without understanding them. You no longer ignore what your intuition is trying to show you. You begin to see clearly, and clarity is what keeps you aligned. So tomorrow, do not rush past the details. Do not dismiss what feels off. Do not ignore the small signals that try to guide you, because what you acknowledge has the power to protect you, and what you ignore has the potential to redirect you. You are not being asked to control everything. You are being asked to notice, to remain present, to allow awareness to guide your attention where it matters most, because the difference between alignment and misdirection is often found in the smallest moment that you choose not to overlook. Type "I notice everything that matters" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 9090 is now activated over your awareness. There is a difference between moving through your day and being prepared for your day. Most people wake up, follow routine, step outside, and allow whatever comes to unfold without ever taking a moment to align themselves internally. They react to what happens instead of preparing for how they will respond. And because of that, they are constantly adjusting, constantly reacting, constantly trying to regain control of situations that could have been navigated differently if they had prepared their spirit beforehand. But you are not being called to move like that tomorrow. You are being called to prepare before you step into motion. Because preparation is not about predicting everything that will happen. It is about positioning yourself so that no matter what happens, you remain steady, aware, and aligned. It is about entering the day with clarity already established, instead of trying to find clarity in the middle of confusion. This is what gives you an advantage. When your spirit is prepared, you do not get pulled in every direction. You do not react to every situation. You do not lose yourself in the noise of what is happening around you. Instead, you remain grounded. You remain centered. You move with intention, not impulse. And that changes how everything unfolds. Tomorrow, there will be moments that try to disrupt your focus. Situations that come unexpectedly. Conversations that demand your attention. Decisions that seem to require immediate action. And if you step into that day unprepared, those moments will control your responses. But if you prepare your spirit before you leave your house, you take control of how you respond to them. Preparation begins in stillness. It begins in taking a moment before everything starts moving. Before the noise begins. Before the day unfolds. It is the decision to pause and align yourself with awareness, with clarity, with intention. It is choosing to step into the day already grounded, instead of waiting for the day to ground you. This is what most people overlook. They believe preparation is physical. Planning, organizing, scheduling. And while those things have their place, they do not determine how you respond when something unexpected happens. That is determined by your internal state, by how prepared your spirit is to remain steady in the face of change. Because no matter how much you plan, something will always arise that you did not expect. And when it does, your preparation will determine your response. You have experienced this before. Days where everything felt chaotic, where one unexpected moment led to another, where you felt like you were constantly trying to keep up with what was happening. And then there were days where, even when things did not go as planned, you remained calm, focused, able to navigate everything without losing your sense of direction. The difference between those days was not the circumstances. It was your preparation. Tomorrow is not about avoiding every challenge or unexpected situation. It is about being prepared enough that those moments do not take control of you. It is about having a foundation within you that remains steady, regardless of what unfolds externally. This is what gives you clarity in the moment. This is what allows you to pause when others rush. This is what helps you recognize when something is aligned and when it is not. This is what keeps you from being pulled into distractions that appear suddenly. Because when your spirit is prepared, you do not need to figure everything out in the moment. You already know how to respond. That is the power of preparation, and it does not require anything complicated. It requires intention. It requires you to take a moment before you step outside tomorrow and align yourself with awareness. To remind yourself that you will move with clarity, not impulse. To ground yourself in the understanding that you will not rush, that you will not ignore what you feel, that you will not allow external pressure to dictate your actions. Because once the day begins, everything will move quickly. And if you have not prepared yourself before that movement starts, you will be pulled into it without realizing it. But if you take that moment, if you prepare your spirit, you step into the day differently. You step into it with control over your responses. You step into it with awareness guiding your actions. You step into it with a steady foundation that nothing external can easily shake. This is how you move with clarity. This is how you remain aligned. This is how you navigate what is coming without losing your direction. So before you leave your house tomorrow, do not rush. Take that moment. Prepare yourself, because that preparation is what will carry you through everything that follows. Type "I am prepared" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1010 is now activated over your day. There is always a moment, not a long stretch of time, not an entire day, not something drawn out and obvious, but a single moment, often quiet, often subtle, often easy to miss if you are not paying attention. And yet, that one moment carries the power to shift everything. Tomorrow holds one of those moments for you. You will not be told when it arrives. It will not announce itself. It will not feel dramatic or overwhelming. It will appear like any other moment in your day. And that is why it matters. Because turning points are rarely recognized while they are happening. They are only understood afterward, when everything has already shifted, when the consequences of a small decision have unfolded into something much larger. People often look back and say, that was the moment everything changed. But at the time, it did not feel like anything significant. Tomorrow, you are being given something rare. You are being made aware that such a moment is coming before it happens, and that awareness changes how you will experience it. Because when the moment arrives, you will feel it, not as something loud, but as something precise. A pause in your flow, a slight hesitation, a sense that this choice matters more than it seems. It may be a decision you need to make, a direction you need to choose, a response you need to give, or even something you need to walk away from. It will not look like a major turning point, but it will carry that weight. This is where everything you have heard so far begins to come together. Your awareness, your preparation, your ability to listen, your willingness to pause, your discipline to not rush. All of it will lead to this moment. And in that moment, there will be two paths. One will feel automatic, familiar, easy to follow because it aligns with what you have always done. It will not require you to think deeply. It will not challenge you to pause. It will simply allow you to move forward without resistance. The other path will feel different. It may require you to stop. It may ask you to question what is in front of you. It may not feel as immediate or as convenient. It may even feel uncomfortable for a brief second. But within that path, there will be clarity. Not full understanding, not complete certainty, but enough of a signal for you to recognize that this choice deserves your attention. That is the turning point. Not the situation itself, but your response to it. Because the moment does not change your direction. Your decision does. And that is what makes this so important. You are not being placed in a moment that controls you. You are being placed in a moment that reveals you. It reveals how you choose. It reveals whether you move with awareness or with habit. It reveals whether you trust what you feel or ignore it. It reveals whether you are aligned with where you are meant to go or still moving based on what is familiar. This is not about getting everything right. It is about being present enough to recognize when something matters. Tomorrow, that recognition will be available to you, but it will not force itself upon you. You will have to notice it. You will have to choose to pause instead of rushing past it. You will have to allow yourself to feel the weight of the moment instead of dismissing it as something small. Because once the moment passes, it does not return in the same form. The opportunity to choose differently exists only within that space. And once you move forward, the path begins to unfold based on the choice you made. This is why preparation matters. This is why awareness matters. This is why listening matters. Because without those things, the moment will feel like any other, and you will move through it without realizing what it was. But with awareness, everything changes. You will recognize it. You will feel it. You will understand that this is not just another decision. This is a turning point. And in that moment, you will have the ability to choose in alignment with where you are meant to go. Not based on habit, not based on pressure, not based on what is easy, but based on what is right. And that is what shifts everything. Type "I recognize my moment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1111 is now activated over your decisions. This is where everything comes together. Not tomorrow, not later, not after you step outside. Right now, in this moment, before anything begins, before any decision is made, before any path unfolds, this is where the final alignment happens. Because what you carry into tomorrow will determine how you walk through it. And you are not being sent forward without instruction. You are being given a command. Not one that forces you, not one that controls you, but one that calls you into your highest awareness, your clearest state, your most grounded presence. Because tomorrow is not something to fear, but it is something to respect. It is a day that will respond to how you show up within it. So hear this clearly. When you wake up, do not rush. Do not allow yourself to move automatically, repeating the same patterns, stepping into the same mindset, carrying the same distractions. Pause before everything begins, even if it is just for a moment, even if it is just a few seconds of stillness. That pause is not wasted time, it is your foundation. Because when you step outside, everything will begin to move. Situations will unfold. Conversations will happen. Decisions will present themselves. And the pace of the day will try to pull you into its rhythm. But you are not meant to be carried by that rhythm. You are meant to move with intention within it. That means you do not rush when things feel urgent. You do not react when something tries to provoke you. You do not say yes without thinking. You do not ignore what you feel simply because it is easier to move forward. You stay aware. You stay grounded. You stay present. Because everything you have heard in this message is not separate pieces of guidance. It is one complete alignment. Your awareness, your preparation, your ability to listen, your discipline to pause, your recognition of the moment. All of it is meant to come together tomorrow. And when it does, you will move differently. You will see things others do not see. You will feel what others ignore. You will recognize what others miss. And that is what will guide you. There may be moments that try to pull you off course. Situations that feel urgent but do not deserve your energy. Opportunities that appear right but do not feel aligned. Conversations that try to draw you into something unnecessary. Do not engage blindly. Do not move automatically. Do not forget what you already know, because you have been prepared for this. And preparation is only powerful if it is remembered in the moment. This is your command. Walk into tomorrow with awareness leading every step. Pause when something feels off. Listen when everything else becomes loud. Step back when something tries to rush you forward. Trust what you feel, even when you cannot fully explain it. Because you are not walking into tomorrow alone. You are walking into it with clarity already within you. And that clarity is your protection. That clarity is your direction. That clarity is your advantage. So do not doubt it. Do not ignore it. Do not trade it for convenience. Because what you choose tomorrow will not just affect the moment. It will shape what comes next. And now, receive this. May your path be clear before you take each step. May your awareness remain strong when distractions arise. May your decisions be guided by clarity, not pressure. May every moment that tries to mislead you be revealed before it takes shape. May you move with confidence, with peace, with certainty, knowing that you are aligned, protected, and prepared. This is your moment to walk differently. This is your moment to choose with intention. This is your moment to move in alignment. Type "I walk in divine alignment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 is now activated over your path. And as this message reaches its final breath, understand this truth. What has touched your spirit today is not meant to stop with you. It is meant to flow through you into the lives of others who are still searching in silence. Every seed you release into this mission becomes a spark of light in someone else's darkness, a voice of clarity in someone else's confusion. The word declares, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days," and this is that moment where your obedience becomes someone else's breakthrough. I feel this strongly for you. This is not just support. This is participation in a divine assignment unfolding across countless lives. When you give through Super Thanks or the PayPal link in the description, you are opening doors for this message to reach souls who would otherwise remain lost in distraction. Do not hesitate when your spirit is being stirred. This is your moment to act in faith, to sow into something eternal, to become part of the harvest God is releasing. Step forward now, release your seed, and align yourself with the flow of what heaven is doing through this message.